So as we get started today, this video is divided into chapters. If you want to skip at any point, just look at the sliding bar underneath the plating window and you can see the chapters to skip ahead. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd. So it's my friends over at yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we are going to do the Bernat Super Value Crochet Dog Coat. You can also use Red Heart Super Saver. So it's important for me on the Crochet Crowd to be using yarn that is accessible, also value based, because it is most affordable to many people. So what we have here is a dog coat. I filmed this years ago. This is a brand new spanking new video as of 2021 because the original video was an absolute disaster because I was still learning how to read patterns and I had misread some instructions which created the dog coat to be a triangle. So what I've done is that I pulled out the pattern last night and I looked at it and I ran into the same issue that I had years ago, and I looked at the stitch counts and I'm realizing that the way that this has been written is older, so the terms of crochet has changed in the way things are said. So when I was misreading it, I was not thinking that it was an older pattern. So today I'm gonna take that mystery out. We also have 4 sizes on this particular dog coat. We have small, medium, large, and extra large, and those sizes are available on this pattern. So I'll give you the information that you need to know. I'm going to do the small size, but I actually practiced doing the medium size last night. You'll need 2 crochet hooks in order to play with this design. It's a 4mm size F as in Frank and a 4.5mm size G as in giraffe. And what we have is that you'll be using those sizes and you want to look for where we're going to be changing our hook sizes. I will be mentioning it in today's tutorial as we go. So let's take a look at what I would do if I were you, because that's what I did last night in order to help myself get through this even faster. So let's take a look. So as I mentioned, there are 4 sizes: small, medium, large, and extra large. So in the parentheses, this is what we have. So we have 1, 1, 1, and 1. So this is telling us that this is the small, the medium, large, and extra large. And one thing that I've known with myself is that whenever there's a change of information, there's going to be the parenthesis will appear, and the parenthesis also appear when there's giving stitch counts at the end of a set of instruction. So if I go down to the neck ribbing, just like you see here, and what I do is that I read through the pattern in advance and I circle all of the ones that I want to focus on. So I know that the first one's small, medium, large, and extra large, or sorry, extra large. So what I want to do is that I went through and I circled all the smalls that I'm gonna run into in this particular pattern. So when it says here we're going to just do 1 stitch into each row and repeat the last row 30, 46, 70, and 82, you're choosing the number that matches the size. So the small is 30, medium is 46, large is 70, and extra large is 82. So I went through the complete pattern and I circled where all of that stuff is going to be happening so that I can keep an eye on it as I'm going through this pattern. Also, I told you that there is a set of instruction here that was causing me to fail, and it's only because the technical writing of crochet has changed, and where I was failing was right here, and it happens throughout the whole thing. So I'm going to explain that even more. So right here it says miss the first double crochet. This does not mean to skip a stitch. So what's gonna happen is that when we go out and the last row it says to chain 3, and then it says miss the next double crochet, it's meaning the stitch where the chain 3 is coming out of, but you're just double crocheting into the next one. So originally when I had filmed, I had chain 3, I had skipped this stitch and went over, therefore I was reducing stitches as I was going. So that's why I ended up in a triangle format like that. So what I want to pay attention to is that set of instruction, because that, I think, if anything, people will fail at is that. And I'm not saying it's incorrect. I'm just saying that the way that crochet terms have been written over the years has altered, and that's something that's new. You will also notice in this pattern is that whenever there's instructions, it's not only stitch counts, but it's also the number of inches. So repeat last row until it's 5 inches, 6, 8, 9.5. Again, small, medium, large, extra large. So as mentioned, we're using 2 different crochet hook sizes, so you want to bounce between the 2. I am going to be using Red Heart with Love on camera today. I am doing the small size, but I'm going to start somewhere else in the pattern other than the very beginning, because what I want to do is that I need to get a tape measure, so make sure you get one of those, and you'll need your tapestry needle also to be able to attach the legs to it. The legs are just a band, and what I want to show you is the components in order to do it. And I found it was just easier to get myself warmed up on the stitch by doing the leg band. bands first. So I'm gonna start with the leg bands and then I'm gonna move over to the collar and then work my way down the body. So I'm just gonna change slightly on where we're starting on today's pattern. Now when we're doing the components, we have the leg bands here. So what I would do is do one leg band, you're going to measure it, and when you do the second one, I use this one as the model so that I put it right directly over top. Use the tail ends as an indication that you are actually in the right spot. So you see the tail ends coming out in the corner. So if it looked like this, then I knew something would be wrong and it was slightly shorter or longer. So if it's the same height that you believe and the tails are coming out of the same spot, is quite neat. Now there is striping on this particular pattern. So this here is the collar, and the collar is built out and then you keep on building onto it. But the pattern actually has striping. So I'm gonna take you to my medium sample. I've not finished it, so you can see what it looks like before it comes to an actual coat. So here's what the dog coat looks like. This is the medium size. So when we start off at the collar up here, we're going to then build it down. Now every row is a different color. So you'll see rows 1 through 6. So A, B, C, D, and E, and then MC for main color. And every row will change in order to do that. I like simplicity. I like solid colors, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. But there is a stitching concept. What I highly recommend to you though is start the actual change after you've gone all the way across the collar first, because what happens here is that you're going to join with this stitching of double crochets, and it always if something goes wrong you can actually really see it. But if you use the same color when you do your first row of double crochets across the collar, you won't see any imperfections, and then you'll want to start your color sequence. And so the color sequence is available to you on the pattern, but I will be using solid color just for demonstration purposes today. I know some people would prefer that I would change the colors constantly, but I think for tutorial reasons I'm more concerned about the stitches and the counting in order to make it work. So you're going to notice that when we start off, we're going to start and we're gonna get ourselves bigger. So there will be an increase, and then we're going to then just keep it just like a box shape. So we're going to be doing this piece and this piece and then the other piece separately, and then we bring it back all the way across and we continue, and then we just get more narrow, and so the whole distance of the coat is what it would state on there. So let's begin. We're going to use the larger size crochet hook, a 4.5 millimeter, a size G is in giraffe. I don't know if G is in giraffe makes sense, but it's with a G. And what we have is we're gonna start with this with the main color or whatever you chose to do the leg bands. The leg bands are nice and small, and I want you to leave a long yarn tail on both sides of the band so that you can have options for sewing that later. So we're going to make 2 of those, and let's begin that next. So create an extra long tail that you can use to sew it. You'll regret it if you don't. If you don't need it, you can snip it off later. And just create a slip knot, and I need you to chain a total of 6. So you need to do 2 of these of what I'm about to show you. So chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Once you have that done, we're going to move to row number 1, and in row number 1 go to the back hump of the chain, the second chain from the hook, and just single crochet across. So when you get all the way across, you will notice that there is a total of 5 single crochets. Okay. Now we're gonna do row number 2, which is the repeat until you get to the amount of inches what we'll talk about. So chain up 1, and you're gonna go into the back, okay, to the back loop. Okay, so just go in the back loop. I find when you do the first one, just to turn it like this, it just is easier to see, and then single crochet in each of the back loops all the way across. So there's gonna be a total of only 5 stitches, so these bands will not take a lot of time, and you're just gonna keep going back and forth with this set of instruction until you get about 5 inches. And then I need you to do the second one exactly the same way, and just keep your tape measure handy for at least the first one. So chain 1 and go to the back loop and go back and forth. So for the small size you'll need to go 5 inches long, for the medium is 6, for the large is 8, and for the extra large it's 9.5. So clearly the bigger the dog, the more work that you will have. So just go back and forth and I'll be right back in a second and we'll just recap this and we'll move on in the pattern. So I've already finished one leg band and I've measured it out. It's 5 inches. So you may have 5, 6, 8 or 9.5. Leave an extra long tail and snip it and just leave this really close to you and do another one and then we'll have that completely done. And please do one more and I'll be right back in a sec after that's done. So I have my second leg band complete. Snip it and you can see that it's the same size. So I used the other one as the example. And we're going to move on now and we're gonna start at the neck ribbing and I need you to reduce your hook now to a 4mm size, F as in Frank, and we're going to begin to do that and choose whatever color that you'd like to play with. So just creating a slip knot and with your size 4mm size, F as in Frank. All sizes are the same as far as the width is concerned, so we are going to chain a total of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So going on the back hump of the chain, second chain from the hook, you're going to single crochet across. Now the only difference of these neck ribbing is going to be the length and how long you're going to make this. So there will be 4 sizes that are available and they're not by the inches but they're by the number of rows. So we'll be covering that in just a few moments from now. So now just come all the way across and I'm gonna turn my work and then coming back across. So it's like we just did with the leg bands. You're gonna chain up 1 and stay on the back loop only and you're just gonna work your way across. So there's a total of 7 stitches across. Remember that if you're new to crochet and you chained 8 and you went second chain from the hook, that's why there's only 7 left, because you skipped to the second chain from the hook. Hopefully that makes sense. So once we get this row we have to go to the instructions and this is row number 2 and let's read what it says, and it says to repeat the last row 30 times, that's for small, 46 times that's for medium, 70 times is for large, and 82 times for the extra large. So if you look at this example, this is 1 and 2. When you start seeing the ribbing, so let me pull you the ribbon back up because you can actually quickly count that. So you can just do a whole whack and just look at it from this perspective. So it's looking the same, right? So this ridge here, consider that 2, 4 because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and there's actually 17 rows there. So what I'm saying to you is that you don't have to count each one, but you can actually count it by the ridges that are coming up and just make sure it looks like that. So if it looks like this, right, you just have to count the number of ridges. So what I want you to do is just go back and forth using row number 2. So it's either 30, 46, 70 or 82 times, and I'll be back in just a few moments from now. So I've now just finished my neck ribbing. So let's just talk about the counts really quickly. So we did the first 2 rows and then we had to do another 30 rows in order to complete it. So you may have had to do 46, 70 or 82. So with the 30, the 46, 70 and 82, remember that we had the first 2 rows. So whatever that count is, so if you had to repeat it 30 times, there should be a total count of 32. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30 and 32. So that would be there. So 46, if you had to repeat it 46 times, there should be 48. 70, there should be 72, and 82, there should be 84 rows. So just remember that that's where you're gonna end up. So we don't want to fasten off at this point and we want to change our hook out and we want to switch it back to the 4.5mm size G as in giraffe, and we're now going to work our way across the top of the collar here and we have to evenly space it. Use the same color as the collar, and then if you want to do the striping starts after this row. So let's begin and let's take a look where we are in the pattern. So we're right here at the top and we've changed to the larger hook already, and we're going to it's going to say chain 3, which counts as the first double crochet, and work a further 33, 49, 73 or 85 double crochets across the edge. So with the chain 3, which counts as a double crochet in this 33, that gives you number 34, 50, 74 and 86. So just remember whatever this number is, because the chain 3 counts, this is what the final chain count is. So, or sorry, final crochet count is across. So you need to make sure you hit this number. So you may have to squeeze it in if you didn't get it in right away, but because we're using the same color, it's very easy to hide any imperfections like that. So almost the end of every row that we did on here, so coming back, is going to have a double crochet across. And so what I would do if I were you and you weren't watching me, I would roughly fold this in half like this, and then put a stitch marker. So just put something there so that you can see it. So if I have to get a total of 34 stitches across, then what I want to do is that I want to take that number and I want to do half of the stitches on this side of the stitch marker and then the other half on the other side. So instead of just going all the way across and realizing that you've been too close together to each other, or you have to figure out how you're gonna get to the end because you've already out of you've already got your stitch count in and yet you're not at the end, this will help you to stay in balance. So let's begin, and we're going to work our way across, and this is our journey now. So beginning for me, what I need to do is that I need to get 17 double crochets on this side, 17 on the other, and then if you're looking at the other sizes, you'll need to get, for the medium, you need to get 25 on one side, 25 on the other, and then half of 74. Oh, I didn't even do the math ahead. So half of 74 on one side, half of 74 on the other, and then if it's the large, extra large size, it's 86 on, sorry, it's half of 86 on one side, half of 86 on the other. So let's begin, and you're just gonna pick it up and you're just gonna put the number of stitches in. So you're just gonna chain 3, which counts as your first double crochet, and I wanna make sure that I get 17 in there. So if that counts as 1, say that's 1, and then just come up to the next section here, and this is 2, and just evenly space it. And this is 3, 4, 15, and see I'm at the halfway point. So at this point I've jumped a little too far in one section here, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna frog back and try again, and I wanna leave this in the tutorial so that it helps you to understand that sometimes you just don't get it right on the first time and you just gotta keep retrying again. So please go all the way across the set number that you want to do for your size, and I'll be right back at the end of this row over here. So I've officially now got my 34 in. You will notice that this will cause it to go like this, and that's because the hook is bigger, so the stitches are bigger, and it's also double crochet, which is fine because the whole point of this neck collar is to have a little bit of elasticity to it. So what I want to do before I move on, this was considered to be the right side. So what I need you to do, and this will only help you, so please do it, is that just slip your hook in behind a piece of the stitch work and just get a little strand or a stitch marker and just attach it, and you'll remove this later, but every time you see this side of the work, it'll tell you that it's the right side, because once you start bouncing back and forth, you won't be able to tell if you don't mark it. So this is the right side of the work, and now we're gonna officially begin to do row number 2 of the body. Let's begin to do that next, and let's turn our work. Now when you're following me on camera here, you notice that I turn before I decide to chain 3. So the instructions, because they're older, they had you chain before you did the turn, but you can do it after. So that's just something that's different. So row number 2, we're going to do an increase. So we need to make it wider. So what we're going to do is in row number 2 is that we're going to chain 3, and we need to apply a double crochet into the first one, which is the same one that this chain 3 is coming out of. And so this is applying 2 double crochets into the same stitch, which will allow it to increase. Now you're just gonna go in the regular stitches, double crochet across, and on the very last stitch I need you to put in 2 double crochet, and that's where I'm gonna meet you in just a moment. So I'm coming all the way across, and in the turning chain is where I want to apply the 2 double crochets. So go right into the chain itself, don't go into a space, and you're going to apply 2 double crochet into that same turning chain, and then we're gonna turn our work. So we now have a repeat that we have to do, which changes per size, so let's go over that next. So we just did the first row 2 here, and now it says repeat the last row 2, 6, 10 or 16 times. So in the medium that I did last night I had to do it 6 times, but in this one I'm doing the small, I only have to do row number 2 2 more times. So what I do, if you're not watching me, I would just go 1 and 2 because I'm gonna repeat it twice, and then when I repeat the row I just circle it that I've completed it, and then basically that's done. So if it was the 6 that I did last night, I did 3, 4, 5 and 6, and so as I complete each row, as I said, I just kind of circle it and check it off on my list before moving on. So the stitch counts that we see here is the ending stitch count at the end of the repeat. So after you've done the 2 rows that or 6, 10 or 16, this is our chain, or this is our double crochet counts. So you notice that there's a significant difference between the sizes. So repeat the number of rows that you need for your size, and I'll be right back, and then we're going to start shaping the leg section next. So for my size I repeated just once and twice. So I just finished number 2, and now I'm ready to move on to shaping the leg. So make sure that you did finish the number of times for your size. Now shaping the leg, we have to create 3 sections. We're gonna create a section here, a middle, and an end. So what I want to do, let me just turn it because we have to turn our work anyway. So when we go to do this, we're gonna create the first leg opening side here, then we're going to create the center, and then we're gonna create the other one here. So we're just gonna go back and forth the number of times so that we can create the hole for the legs of your fur baby. So let's begin, and we have the number of sizes that we have here. There is a difference, and let's take a closer look at that. So we have the different sizes here. So we're going to miss the first one, so that's just that same first stitch. So we're gonna chain 3, and then we're gonna go and double crochet either the next 4, 7, 11 or 15. So choose the size that you're working with, and then and that will give you the total count of stitches across. So either be 5, 8, 12 or 16. You're gonna chain 3 and then turn, or you can turn and chain 3, doesn't matter, and then you're going to do the next row. So and then you're just gonna double crochet yourself across, and that's gonna be the same stitch count. Okay, so you're just creating a little section of your leg. Then it says to repeat the last row either 1, 3, 5 or 5 times. So with this 2 rows, so 1 and 2, if I have to repeat that last row one more time, the small size here will have a total of 3 rows completely for the leg opening. Then in the medium here there will be a total of 5 rows. And then the large and the extra large will have a total of 7 rows. And just keep an eye on that, because when we go to jump to the next section right here, what we just learned here, we're going to apply the same thing, and the number of rows is going to be the same. So it's just a different stitch count across. Let's begin the first leg opening, first side, and let's do that next. So we've already turned our work, so we're going to chain a total of 3. So 1, 2, 3. And it says double crochet either in the next 4, 7, 11 or 15. So choose the size that you need to do. So starting in the very next stitch, in my size it's only gonna be 4 stitches in a row. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So with the turning, or with the chain 3 plus those 4, that gives you the number 5. So do the number that you have to do, and then you're just gonna turn your work, and then you're gonna chain 3, and then just crochet yourself all the way back across, which includes that turning chain here. So it's only gonna be 5 in my case. Make sure you go right into the turning chain, not to a space, and then turn. So the instructions say repeat the last row either a total of 1, 3, 5 or 5. So in my case, the small size, I only have to repeat this last row one more time. The medium will be 3 times, and then the large and extra large will be 5 times. So just chain 3 and just double crochet yourself, and keep on doing that row back and forth the number of times that is for your size. And after you've done that, you're going to fasten off and let it hold, and I'll be doing that in a second. So in my case, there's only a total of 3 rows altogether. I'm going to trim this, and this yarn is complete. Do you see right where I'm sitting right now? See how the strand is on this side? What I want to make sure that when you start the next middle here, you're immediately just coming on over, skipping a certain amount of stitches and then starting your middle. So don't turn it around and start your middle when there's nothing here. Okay, so continue along sequentially like that. So let's just fasten this off and we'll begin the center section in a moment. So in the center section with the right side facing, and we can tell that, remember that I gave you that stitch marker clue, and the right side is currently facing up. So what we have here says miss the next 4, 7, 9 or 12 double crochet. So you're gonna skip those stitches completely and then join the yarn with the slip stitch, chain 3, and then that will count as the first stitch, and double crochet into either the next 21, 33, 53 or 63. And then that's when you're gonna stop. So there will be a total count of double crochets of 22, 34, 54 or 64, and then you're going to turn. So you'll chain 3. So then you'll do exactly what you did in the first part. So you'll chain up 3, 1 double crochet in each, and then you have to repeat this a number of times, which is the same count of repeat before. So in my case I'm gonna have a total of 3 rows altogether after I'm done, but in this case the medium will then have 5 and the large and extra large will have 7 rows, just like it was on the first side. Let's begin the center section. So right where we are, we need to skip a certain amount of stitches. So you either need to skip 4, 7, 9 or 12. So in my case, because of the size, I'm gonna skip 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to go to the 5th one and create a slip knot with your new yarn and pull that through. And then using this, I need you to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Now it says to double crochet either in the next 21, 33, 53 or 63. So you're gonna choose the size. So what I do for myself, if you weren't watching me, is that I count this already as 1, and I know the final stitch count is either 22, 34, 54 or 64. So I count starting with this one. So in my case I have to do a total of 22 stitches. So this is 1, and go right up over top of the straggler and say that's 2 and 3, and continue all the way to the number that you're doing for your size. So what you could do is do a whole whack of them and then count, or count as you go, and I'll see you at the end of this row in a second. Don't go all the way to the end though. Count only those stitches that you need. So I came all the way across, so my size will have a total of 22. You could have 34, 54 or 64, and that counts that count that chain 3 as one of them. So when you're looking at this side here, when you go to skip the number of stitches, the remaining stitches after you skip that should be the same number of the stitches that you would have had on this side, but we won't worry about that for now. So turn your work, and I need you to just chain up 3, which will count as the first double crochet, and then double crochet yourself all the way across. When you get to the other side, then you have to repeat this row that you're about to do a set number of times. My size it's just 1 more time, and the other sizes you have 3 or 5. So I'll be right back in a second and I'll have this complete section done, and we'll move on to the other leg side in a moment. So I've now just completed the middle here. So I repeated this set number of times. In my case it was just once, and now I'm gonna fasten off because we still have the other side to do that will look like this. So you'll notice that the yarn tails are hanging off on the same point. Do you see that? So you're gonna start the next one here. The number of stitches that we skipped here is going to be the same number that we skip on the other side, and we're going to repeat what we already know. So we're gonna skip, in my case, where in your case it could have been different, but you'll skip either 4, 7, 9 or 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll go into the next one and then attach and chain 3. And if your stitch count is right, there should only be a set number of stitches left. In my case there's gonna be only 4. So with the chain 3 and these 4, that gives me the number 5 like it was on the other side. Now if you're wrong in any way, just kind of fake it, or you know, it's a dog. And this will actually be on the underside of the belly of the dog as well. So that's just something that you can consider for yourself. So I'm not telling you to cheat, but you can get away with it. So turn your work and repeat what you already know. So you're just gonna chain 3 And then starting in the next one, just one double crochet in each, and then it says to repeat this row a set number of times, which you already know what that is, and you can use what you already have established as your height guide. So in my case I only have to repeat one more time. So just turning my work, 1, 2, 3, and just double crochet yourself across, and do not fasten off at this point. I want you to keep the yarn on, because the next point we're now going to go with the joining rows. So I'm gonna turn my work, and the next row we're going to go completely all the way across, joining these to close in these leg holes. Let's do that next. We're now going to do the joining rows. So we're going to just double crochet in each, and when there's a space, do you remember how many that you skipped over? So either be chaining 4, 7, 9, or 12, and that will jump you over the space that you have. And when you jump that over, then you start immediately in the next double crochet after that space. So that's something that you can consider for yourself. So you're just gonna jump on over and use in the same amount of chains that you would have skipped over on the stitches. And if you're not sure, you can always look back here, and it's the same amount. So there was 4 that we skipped, so we're gonna chain 4. So we're gonna work our way all the way across, and then we're going to continue from that point. So let's do the joining row next. Okay, we're gonna do the joining row, so just chain 3 wherever you are, like no matter what size, and you're just gonna equally double crochet yourself across. So when you have a space, which is gonna be coming up really shortly for me, you'll have bigger distances to crochet if you're doing the other sizes. And we knew that we had missed 3, so we're gonna chain, or so we missed 4, so we're gonna chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and immediately come to the side, put the straggler down on top of the line, and just continue to double crochet over. And so then that will close in that space like that. So I'm gonna double crochet myself across, and again just do, when you get to the next space, just chain the equal amount that you need in order to close that, and then just double crochet on the other side of that space all the way to the end of the row. So this is the joining row, and I'll see you at the end of this row in a moment. So now just come all the way across, and both of these should be sealed in. So you're gonna turn your work, and we're going to double crochet ourselves across on the next row. And if you chained 4, then that means that you're gonna put 4 double crochets in. Go into the actual chain though, don't go into a space, so that it will hold it equally. And if you chained a different amount, maybe like 7, 9, or 12, you're just going to just follow those same things. So make sure you get the right count as you go across. So we're going to begin that, and so no matter what size, just match those stitches. So when we go to begin this row, is that we're going to chain 3, counts as your first double. So I'm only gonna be worried about counting as I go over top of the arm space or the leg space in order to get it to go. I consider this like a jacket, so I consider it the arms of a dog. So what I want to do is that I know I only have 4 skipped stitches here, so I only want to put in 4. So go into the actual chain work itself and make sure that there's only 4. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So you might have a different chain count, just make sure that each chain gets something, and then immediately jump right after that. So I want you to go all the way across, do the same thing with the other space that you'll run into, and then a lot of this hard stuff of this blanket, or sorry, of this dog coat is actually pretty much done at this point. So we're going to repeat a certain amount of rows, and we're gonna talk about that next, and I'll see you at the end of this row in a moment. Okay, I'm moving up to the next row. So I've come all the way across, and now the next row is just straight double crochet across. So just chain 3 and then double crochet in each, and then we're gonna talk about the repeat pattern and where we go from here after this row. So please just double crochet yourself across. So just finish the row. Okay, so listen very carefully here. This here is the right side of the work, because we can see that this is here. The other side without it is the wrong side of the work. We need to repeat the last row a set number of times, and it's an inch thing. It's not the number of rows. So from the joining row right here, for the small size that I'm doing, I need approximately 4.5 inches between here and to where I'm going to stop. So I'm gonna repeat the last row until I get there. Medium, you will have 7 inches. Large you will have 10.5 inches, and extra large is 11.5 inches. But listen my friends, you have to finish as close as you can so that the last row when you come across is on the wrong side of the work, so that when you start to shape the belly, when you turn it, the right side will be facing up, and we start to shape the belly with the right side facing up. So what I'm telling you is that you need to get your set of inches 4.5, 7, 10.5, or 11, and go back and forth, and the last row should be on the wrong side of the work so that you don't see the stitch marker, and that's where I'm gonna pick you up next. So please repeat that last row until your set of inches, and we'll be back to shape the belly, and we're pretty much almost done our coat from this point, and it depends on the size on how quick it's gonna take you as well. So I've now just repeated the last row a set number of times. I have approximately 4.5 inches. I'm also on the back side of the work so that when I am ready to shape the belly, which is the next row, when I turn it around, the right side should be facing up, and that's where we're gonna pick up from the next point. So let's go back to the instructions and let's talk about that next. So the instructions, we're going to SS. That is a older form of slip stitching. So we're gonna slip stitch in each of the first 7, 10, 15, or 19, depends on your size of course. Then you're going to chain 3 from there, and then 1 double crochet in either the next 27, 45, 67, or 83. And then once you have that done, you are then going to turn, and then we're gonna move on to the next row. And after we do the next row here is going to be a decrease, and then we're going to be able to repeat the last row either 3, 6, 9, or 11 times, and it depends on the size of your dog of course. So let's begin shaping the belly, and we're gonna begin with the next row with slip stitching. So we're going to be slip stitching then all the way to the number that we want. It's either 7, 10, 15, or 19. So we have the first one here, and you can say that's 1, and then just go to the next one and say that's 2, and the next one 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So go to the number that you want. Now from here you're going to, wherever you landed, you're going to chain 3, and then you're going to double crochet in the next, what do we have here, in the next 27 stitches. So with the chain 3 and the 27, that gives you the number 28. For the other sizes it gives you 46, 68, or 84. That's as per the instructions. So just count those out to yourself to the number that you want, and you'll get approximately to the same space, about this much of a distance from the other edge, and that's where you're gonna land, and I'll see you there in a moment. So I've come all the way across. I have now my 28, which includes that chain 3, and you will notice that in my position I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches left. That makes sense because I slip stitched to the 7th stitch on the other side and then chain 3, so that means that there is 6 stitches that were by itself here. So just look at that as being part of the balance. We're now going to turn, and we're going to do the next row, and we are going to do a decrease. So we have to watch how we're gonna do the decrease. The decrease is not on the edge, but it's on the 2 just before or just after the edge, and it's on the 2 just before the edge. So when you go to start the next row, you're going to whatever row you're on, you're gonna chain 3, and then you'll put the next 2 together. So just wrap the hook and going in, pull through 2 and hold, and then do the next one, in, pull through 2 and hold, and then put all those together. So those 2 stitches just became 1, and you still have your 1 on your own. So you're gonna zip across with double crochet, and you'll get to the 3rd last stitch, and then you'll put that together with the next stitch, and then double crochet then the last, and I'll see you there in a moment. So we're gonna come across, and I'm looking for the 3 last stitches, which is next. Do you see that? 1, 2, 3. So you're gonna put the next 2 together as 1 stitch, and then you'll double crochet in the turning chain. I'm gonna take you through one more row, but let's go to the instructions. So let's turn. So you're gonna repeat the last row that we just did for the small size 3 more times, medium is 6, large is 9 more times, and 11 is the extra large, so it's gonna be like it's a lot wider. It's like the original sample. I'm gonna show you just one more pass across to make sure that you're identifying the proper stitches when you're doing the decreasing on the edge. So let's just do that once again. So I'm gonna show you one more time. So this would count as one of your repeats. So you're gonna chain 3 and you're gonna put the next one and the next one together as one. And then you're gonna zip across and you're going to double crochet. The trick is to make sure that you identify which stitches you have so you're actually technically decreasing. So I'm coming close to the other side. So I have 3 stitches left. I have 1, 2, and 3. So put the next 2 together. So you see one of them is the 2 together already underneath. And then do the turning chain. So please repeat the number of rows that you need. In my case I just have 2 more rows and I'll be back in just a moment. So I've now just completed my repeat. So this is what it looks like, but we're not quite done. So what we have to do is that we have to look at the edging and we have to get the certain amount of inches. Now when I did the medium I was over already, so I was already done when I hit this point, but they want you to grow it out just a little bit longer if you need to. So at this point the small, and it says from the first row after the neck ribbing, okay, it should be approximately, for my size, is 10.5 inches. So you can see that I'm done. If it wasn't that long you can just chain up 3 and double crochet across and then keep on going until you get to the size. For the medium you're 16 inches. For the large you're 22 inches. And for the extra large you're 25 inches. So you just have to keep on going if once the repeating of the decrease is done, and just double crochet in rows in order to get that, and then you're ready to move on. So what I wanted to do at this point is that I want to change the sequence of what we're about to do, and I want to do the leg edging first. And because I've already got it in flat, so I want to do these first before I move on, and so I'm just gonna change the sequence, so just be aware of that. So let's get rid of this yarn and let's fasten off and let's start the sequencing of the legs. So our next goal is to get those legs to go around this hole, but we're not quite ready to do that yet. What we have to do is that we have to, with the right side facing up, and I can see by the stitch marker, and hopefully you're seeing the value of that, we're going to just trace this circle with a single crochet that's evenly spaced. So when you go to do that, just attach with the slip stitch, and I would recommend staying within the chain work of anything. Do not go into an open space because it'll pull it open. And so you're just gonna attach with the slip stitch, chain 1, and single crochet in. And so on the right side here you just want to circle evenly spaced around your leg openings. And so when you go to sew on the band will be sewn on to what I'm adding right now. So I want you to just do that and just trace the rectangle, and this will also help to make it look more circled off like it would be once the band is applied. So this helps to round off those sharp edges that you can see and make it more smooth. So I want you to do that on both and fasten off, and then we're gonna get ready then to sew the bottom part together, and then we're gonna attach the leg bands and etc. after that. So continue to do one circle around with this, and I'll be right back in just a moment. Please do both sides, like this side and that side on the right side of the project. Okay, I'm done. So I'm coming up around and I realized I probably should show you how to just attach it to the first one if you have to. Sometimes I assume that you have skills that you may not have. So I'm coming around and I want to join it to the first one with a slip stitch, and then that's it. Okay, so you can see that just rounded it off, so when you add those bands it's gonna be easier. So just trim that, do the other side, and then meet me back here in just a moment. Okay, so I got both sides done. The right side's facing up. I want you at this point, and you're gonna feel like it's wrong, but you gotta trust me on this, is that I want you to roll this up and fold it like this so that the wrong side is facing up. And what we're going to do is that when we apply the sewing we want to apply it to the inside of the coat. So if you roll it the other way, then the outside it'll appear. So I want you to roll it so that the interior is the good side of the project, and we'll flip it inside out when we're ready. So you're just gonna line everything up, and you'll notice that everything will be coming together, and any loose ends we'll deal with later. And on my tapestry needle I already have a strand going, and I have a slip knot on the one side. So all I'm going to do is that I'm just going to match the stitch work going across, and this is called a whip stitch, and I'm just gonna bring it across. And because this is the first time coming across, I want to get that slip knot and put it through, and that will help lock that in. So I have a lot of ends to deal with at this point. And I'm going to just match the stitch work directly across, and I'm gonna trace this join all the way to this part here. Okay, this is before the belly started, and this is where I'm gonna go. So I'm going to whip stitch across, and then we're gonna get rid of our loose ends. I'll show you how to do that, and then we will continue along, and we just have to attach our leg bands on from that point. So I'll see you at this point in just a moment. Now that I came all the way down, I am going to secure this off. So I'm gonna do it in a way that it ties it into a knot down here. Then I'm still looking at the inside of the coat, and I want to drag this yarn through the seam lines up through and go once. You will be placing this, or somebody will be on a dog, so you do want to make sure that your tail ends are woven in 3 times. You could do 4th time if you think you need to, but 3 times is usually a good charm, and that's it. So any loose ends that you now have, I want you to do the same technique of getting rid of those and making sure they're well hidden, and then we're going to begin the leg bands of adding those next. We're gonna add our leg bands, and this is still inside out, so the good side is still facing on the interior, and I can still see the right side is still on the inside. I want you to prepare now this band, and you're gonna do the same for both, and I want you to prepare it to go into a circle, and using the longer strand of them, just kind of bend it together like this, and just go and whip stitch yourself across, and that will hold the circle there, and you keep doing it until you get back to the other side. And we're gonna use that strand to continue to sew it to the project. So this other long one that I left, I wanna leave, I wanna get rid of. So just let's get rid of this one here. So it's the same principle of just back and forth a total of 3 times within the work. So back across and back in. Okay, so 3 times is a charm. So we're gonna put the other strand back on, and we're going to sew it to the project here. Okay, so what I want to do is that I want to sew it, so make sure the tail is down, and I'm gonna sew it in a way of whip stitching it. So I'm gonna attach it, and you're just roughly going to guess where it's going to attach. And so when you're going around it, make sure you kind of stretch it out a little bit. It is intentionally supposed to be stretched. And you're gonna go all the way around your band doing this. So just kind of eye it out and making sure that it's stretching a little bit, because if you don't stretch it, it won't fit around. That helps you to know that. And then at the end of this, what we're going to do is that we're gonna flip this to the other side so that it comes out. So the sewing is appearing on the inside of the work. So the legs and the neck trim there is intentionally supposed to be stretched. So that's why we did those back loops when we did it, to give it that elasticity that looks like a turtleneck really, but it's intentional for fitting snug. And once you're all the way around, just tie it into a knot here on this side, and then back and forth a total of 3 times. And I need you to do the same thing for the other side. So I'm gonna leave that in your capable hands, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so my legs are now attached, and now we're gonna turn this the other way so the right side is facing out. I can tell that by this marker. Pop those sleeves out. Look at that, eh? Okay, but we're not quite done. We have just one more thing, and you can see the seam line is flat on this side, which is what we're looking for. And so now we want to go around the belly here, and we're just going to trace it with a single crochet. So let's do that next, and let's start right at the seam line and work our way around. So continuing, we want to just do the last part, and we're just going to go in the seam line, and we're going to attach, and we're going to trace around the belly area, like all the way around. And so attach this, that was a standing single crochet, but just attach chain 1 single crochet if you want to do it the other way, and just evenly space out your single crochet. So if there, you can see the stitch work, please use the stitch work, and if you can't and it's the side of a row, just evenly space it so it looks good. And if you go right up over top of the straggler like I am, then you can actually hide that in without having to sew that in later. And of course you can always use a tapestry needle to secure it even more. So when you're coming up the side, don't go into a gap space, go right into some chain work itself, and that will hold it better, and it won't create any open major holes for you to see when you're looking at your fur baby. So continue all the way around, and I'll see you at the end of this round to fasten off, and that will conclude today's dog coat project. Oh yeah, when you get up to here, just kind of circle around. So I'm at the top, and then just come along the top. So just kind of just trace it around, and that rounds off your edges just naturally without having to do anything special. Okay, I'll see you at the end of the round. Okay, so we're just gonna do a slip stitch, and then you're just gonna fasten off and weave in the yarn back and forth a total of 3 times, and that will conclude today's project. So this is your new dog coat. You can remove out your stitch marker for the right side because we already know what it is. And even if it gets turned inside out, you'll be able to see the seam line on the inside of where you did the join, so that will give you your indication. Now you have your legs and then you have your head area, and it's a little bit elastic, and it's a really neat idea. So this is the Bernat Super Value, a crochet dog coat. It's really cute, and you can color any way that you want, but ultimately it's about keeping your fur baby warm and maybe a little bit of fashion too. Have a good one, and we hope to see you again real soon. Bye bye. Bye bye.